Nice one. That surprised me. Thank you. I'll be here all day. This is the Rixican Show. I am Rick Beer, your host. Thanks for listening to us today.
I also am Rick Beer, your host. Oh, wait, no.
Yeah. Only those that know. Support local.
Yes.
So my question of the day is, what is Ripple known for?
Chicken.
Chicken.
Yeah.
I heard a funny rumor that a big dog in town has kind of forced them. If you look at their menu, they had to blot out the word that comes before chicken.
Blot out? What do you mean by blot out?
Like if you look at their menu, it said broasted, and there's a line through it, and now it just says chicken.
Wow.
Because some big dog is flexing on them.
Oh, dang.
So guess where I'm going to lunch today?
Rick's.
Ripple.
Oh, Ripple. Yeah.
We're going to Ripple. We're going to support them. It's like, hey, you could pick on me, but when I start noticing other businesses in town getting picked on by the same big dog, it's making me it's making the veteran come out, and that doesn't make me happy.
Bullying is not fun.
Yeah. So go down to Ripple and buy what was formerly known as broasted chicken, what shall not be named roasted chicken.
Yeah, I didn't just say broasted, neither did you.
No, because I guess that's some trademark name. But when you Google what is broasted chicken, it's like pressure cooked in oil, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, I don't know. I don't know how someone trademarks that or whatever. But anyway.
Yeah.
Support Ripple and buy what shall not be named chicken.
Broasted. Oh, excuse me. Really quick, please like, subscribe, and share. And then, Rick, what's going on Mother's Day?
Mother's Day, May 12th from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. We have a Mother's Day brunch. So if you have a mother, if you don't, or if you're hatched like my mom told me I was, test tube baby, come on down for a brunch buffet.
I'm your daddy.
$24.99. Bring everyone. Bottomless mimosas as well for $20.
Question though, bottomless mimosa, wouldn't that get messy? Like you gotta have a bottom so they stay in there, right?
Oh my goodness.
Some of that means? Oh, I'm slow.
Yeah.
Is that a dad joke?
I apologize. Topless mimosas. Topless mimosas at Rick's for $20.
I love it.
If you're here, you'll know what we're talking about. If you're not, I'm sorry.
That works out perfect for Mother's Day.
For Mother's topless mimosas for Mother's Day.
Trademark.
Trademark. What was formerly known as topless mimosas is now bottomless mimosas.
Other way around. Yeah.
Anyway, Mother's Day.
Yes.
Hopefully you love your mom.
Mom, I love you. And also, Rick would have his mother get a ticket. He would ticket his mother.
My mind went there too. I was like, yes, I would ticket my own if I worked for the
State Patrol.
But I don't.
Oh, okay. You're safe, Mom.
I'm safe. I'm safe. But, I would probably disarm her too. Anything that would violate the Constitution. Mom, is that a gun? Give me that. Unbelievable. I would not do that to my mother. My mom is awesome. Totally supports me, tells me I'm cooler than I am. So I appreciate you, Mom.
Yeah, I don't even do that.
You don't do? No, you don't.
You suck.
You have a unique relationship with your mom. On today's show, after you've liked and subscribed, I'll get off my knees, quit begging. Sam Snead is with us, the founder of SJ Environmental. And there's a water concern in our area, and it's great to have you on the show. So I have water questions for you.
Sure.
Tell us about your water journey. I have on your resume, grunt, manager, now owner, co-founder, whatever you want to call it, of SJ Environmental. Tell us the process, your experience. Brag about yourself for a minute.
Brag about me too, if you would.
Only if you ask nicely.
Topless mimosas.
Here we go. Sold now. Yeah, I mean, I got into wastewater more first than I did water. I started in Quincy when I was 21 years old back in 2010, and I actually worked for my business partner now. His name's Jay Favor, and he's actually on and listening right now with his nephew Colin. He's one of our employees.
Nice to know. Nice to meet you.
So what you're saying is the student is now the master.
That's right. Yeah,
Very good.
I'm Yoda now.
That's right. He's Yoda, bitch. Oh, sorry.
Well, yeah, plug your ears, kid. You know what I mean. Kids, this is an adult show.
So I mean, from there, I started as summer help and just kind of slowly progressed from there. I was making $12 an hour at that time. I thought it was more money than God at that point. I mean, before I even got into it, I was just kind of a deadbeat. I started a business when I was 19 years old, and I fell flat on my face with it.
Oh yeah.
Floundered a little bit.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And I moved in with my girlfriend at the time, who's actually now my wife. But I was a deadbeat. I didn't actually get a job. I
Wait, she
slept
stuck with you? Wow.
No, she did not.
Oh,
She had her head on straight. She was going to college full time, and she had a full time job. She had her own vehicle. She had her head on straight. I don't know what she was doing with me, but she finally dumped my ass, and I had to move back and move in with my dad.
Oh, boomeranger. Wow.
Yeah, and
Chanel, though, but you're glad you stayed around, right?
yeah, she is now. Yeah, we ended up getting back together about 4 or 5 years later, and then got married almost immediately.
Yeah.
Had a couple kids, but yeah, we I moved in with my dad, and he was the city administrator in Quincy at the time.
That would be Tim Snead.
Tim Snead.
Tim,
Yeah.
we love you.
And he got me an interview with Jay, and I remember, and Jay will tell this story all the time. I drove a Toyota Corolla at the time, and I probably weighed like 140 pounds, soaking wet. And I showed up to this interview. I asked my dad, "Hey, Dad, what should I wear when I get into this thing?"
Probably clothing.
And he's like, wear something nice, and not dress up for the trade, right? So I show up there in slacks and a white shirt, and I pull into the parking lot, and Jay's looking out the window. He's like, "I think there's a Mormon here." And so I came in, opened up the door, and he's like, "Who are you? What are you doing here?" I'm here for a job interview. I'm saying,
Talk to you about our Lord Jesus Christ.
And it just, I don't know, everything kind of fell into place there. Not exactly what I was planning on getting into with my life. I had no real direction, but from there it just kind of took off. I started as summer help pulling weeds. Jay had me pull weeds around this basin that were taller than me. I'm 6'2", and I had weeds that I was pulling literally taller than I was. It took me 3 months to pull them all, and the weeds were starting to grow back where I had started.
Wow.
So there, I look back at the starting point, and I'm like, oh, the weeds are growing back. And so, Jay, like, this guy shows up with an excavator the day I get done, and he starts digging out the sides. And I was like, Jay, why the hell did you have me pull these weeds? He said, I just wanted to see if you'd do it.
Oh,
thanks, buddy.
Testing your work.
Yeah. So that actually got me on full time though. And
that was the test.
That was the test.
Man,
I couldn't paint. He had me paint a building one
Mr.
time.
Miyagi, huh? Wax on, wax off.
Yeah. I think he really just did it to mess with me, but I did it, and I just slowly worked my way up from there. I became a shop steward, and then I did some supervising. I ran their lab for a while. I got married, and I was going to leave, and Jay offered me the position of of a pre-treatment coordinator because the city of Quincy there, they have all the data centers and industries.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, we don't know anything about technology here.
no, nuh-uh. Yeah, and from there, I made my way up to assistant manager. After my business partner Jay left, he got another job as a regional manager, I think is what it was, for the same company we were working for. And he ended up taking a director's position for this other company that was based out of the Midwest. They're huge now. Their names are, the company name is um, Central States, and
Yeah.
they're in the business of purchasing water and wastewater systems. And
We're sure learning a lot about water at the show, right?
yeah,
Oh, yeah.
Last
yeah,
couple days, yeah.
and yeah, exactly. And from there, I became a regional manager working for a company that worked directly with Central States. So I actually got to start working with Jay again, and I took the position, moved down to Louisiana. I oversaw 150 water and wastewater systems throughout Louisiana and Texas.
Define systems. Like, what does that entail?
So systems, these are, most water and wastewater systems, they range in size.
Yeah.
These ones specifically that they were purchasing were small. They called these systems, they were gainy plants. And some of them are these open pool plants is what they call them. But it's all just extended aeration. You've got blowers that push air through diffusers that are in the actual wastewater itself to keep the solids that come in suspended. Because when you're talking wastewater, activated sludge, an activated sludge plant, it most usually always has some sort of blower that pushes air around that, and that's what makes the suspended solids activate, and that's what actually is cleaning up the wastewater itself. So when the air shuts off, or if it goes into what is called a clarifier, it goes into the sedimentation, and that's when it slowly starts to settle out in a wastewater system, and you get what's called supernatant on top.
Yeah.
And that's the clean water. So that water will go through a disinfection process, which
Because I don't want to say the word shit. Did you think that you would?
Supernatant.
Did you think that you would be working with turds? Like,
no, it's funny. The perception of wastewater, when people think, wastewater systems, they think it's just full of shit, and I mean, it is in a
that's a lot
sense.
of solid stuff. Yeah.
But it ends up, it goes through a treatment process, which then makes it more sanitary. Because I mean, if you look at it this way, like some systems discharge into a river, like Spokane's giant wastewater treatment system, it discharges into the Spokane River.
Yum.
But the wastewater that is being discharged is actually, it's cleaner than what a beach standards are, I guess. So like you can have a total of like 250 milligrams per liter of fecal that's allowed at a swimming site. When you're working with wastewater, you're permitted to be under 100 milligrams per liter of any type of fecal matter that's coming out of a wastewater plant. And most of the time, it's around zero. You're at like 0.1 milligrams per liter, so it's actually cleaner than the beach water, especially Moses Lake. I mean, Moses Lake is a dirty lake, right? But we've all swam there. I
Oh
mean,
my goodness! You watched yesterday's show, right?
So what you're saying is to clean Moses Lake, we need the treatment plant to start dumping into Moses Lake. It'll be cleaner.
Hey, the solution to pollution is dilution, my friend.
Nice. Oh man.
But yeah, so I mean, I 150 water and wastewater systems. With the water sites, we had one system. Louisiana, some of the worst drinking water in the country. They had an area in Louisiana. The name of it was Lafayette, and they had an area where the iron manganese in the water was so bad that they would add chlorine to their system. Almost all drinking water systems do.
Yeah.
And the second that chlorine would hit that iron manganese, it would precipitate and it would turn the water brown, just pure brown.
I've been there in New Orleans, Lafayette, after Hurricane Katrina.
Oh yeah.
I went down there with a crew, It was wild.
Yeah,
It was wild. It was like we lived in a tent city down there. We were tarping
yeah.
roofs. Like somebody got stabbed in the tent city, and
Oh,
they
yeah.
like disbanded it. We were like homeless.
Mhm.
It was wild after
Well,
that.
the funny thing is so I traveled for 5 straight months. I traveled back and forth between Washington and Louisiana because we owned a home in Quincy, and in order to not have to pay capital gains taxes, we had to wait 2 years before
Yeah,
we could sell our home. And I actually bought the home from my dad after he retired from the city administrator
Again,
job.
shout out to Tim Snead. Love you, Tim.
I mean, he's not listening, but I'm going to send him this one.
Oh yeah, but he'll just know that I was the one that said that, and you never did.
I haven't gotten to him yet.
We'll get there.
I love you more than him, Tim.
That's not saying
Be
much.
my dad, Tim.
That's not saying much there, Johnny.
Anyway, let's
Yeah.
fast forward. Now you're owner.
Yeah.
Let's jump into that.
Yeah, so again, Jay and I worked for, indirectly for 2 different companies, but we were all, basically running the same type of company all in one. And we wanted to get back home badly. This is where we're born. We're born and raised here. Jay, born and raised in Wenatchee. I was born in Wenatchee and lived in Moses.
Yeah.
And so, we had a contact with the Washington State Department of Ecology. Her name is Cynthia Fuller. We'd talked to her about 10 years before we actually started this business. And she asked us if there was anybody that we knew that would want to do like a circuit rider program. And that's basically you do a circuit where you're going to all these communities that don't have an outreach for operators because they can't pay anybody. I mean, even at that time, I think minimum wage was like 10, 12 bucks an hour. And so at that time, she said, hey, the startup probably be about 10 grand. And at that point I was like, I don't have any money. I'm not going to do that. And so we reached back out to her and said, hey, Cynthia, is this still something that is needed? And she said, now more than ever. So I said, well, how many communities are we talking here? She said, let me get you a list and we can kind of go from there. Because at that point, I was not at a secure enough point to be able to I'm going to quit this job and just move back.
Yeah. Oh, it's scary to start a business.
It is, it is.
There's a risk.
There's a risk, and I like I said earlier, I'd started a business and it failed.
Yeah.
I fell flat on my face with it, and so she got back to me with a list of 20 communities, and I was like, wow, that's enough for me.
One thing, just side note, Rick knows a lot about loss in business. What, 5 million on your first one?
No, yeah, the first one after 9/11 happened, I owed $2.4 million and had to start over.
Yeah.
I was a boomeranger, had to move back home and went back into Old Faithful, back into construction.
Yeah.
Good, honest work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You had a lot of risk ahead of you then.
Back to being the controlled mass, right?
Yeah. And then I ended up became a contractor again. And anyway,
you just had to open up your checkbook, right?
That money doesn't grow on trees.
It's true.
Yeah. It was so much money. Like my parents are like, we got $10,000. Like, you couldn't even like ask for help. Like, there was no life raft. Lost at sea. Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess like I said, when we contacted her, once she got me the list of 20, I said, okay, that's enough for me. So I told my wife, I got a pretty good opportunity here. The problem is we had nowhere to go. So like you were saying, boomerang, my wife and 2 kids, we moved back home and we moved into my mother-in-law's garage.
Oh,
nice.
And then we stayed in there for almost a year while I grew this business from nothing. My business partner at the time actually couldn't even come on full time. And out of those 20 sites or the 20 communities that were given to me, I got 1 out of them.
Wow.
Yeah. I want to jump in and just one up you because I can. So
it's there.
In high school, my mom had a daycare anyway. Don't go in your room. Babies are napping. So I moved into the garage all 4 years, uninsulated 2x4 walls. And little by little, we found carpet and used couch. Anyway, We made it a fun place. It was called the Pad.
It
But-
actually, it wasn't as bad. The garage itself was actually insulated, so we and the door was insulated, so
What
it wasn't
luxury.
terrible. It was luxury. It was.
Silver spoon, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, and so one turned into two, and two turned into five, and five turned into eight, and the business started becoming profitable. We have working on securing. We have a lead with a new company that's actually going to put us in 2 states with roughly, I think, around 18 to. I think it's more like 22. So we'll be about 30 to 31.
So where's your mind in all this? Like, this is it's still mind blowing, right?
Yeah, especially because it hasn't even been 2 years.
Wow.
Awesome. It's not what you know, it's who you know.
And I'm his neighbor, so I mean,
yeah. That's the funny thing. You kind of just run into people and relationships start. But I moved in next to Donnie, and it's hard not to like the guy, unfortunately.
And he said,
Eye roll.
he said, it was Sam Snead. I'm like, wait, as in Tim Snead?
Yeah. Yeah.
Dad?
Boy, what's it like to be Tim's son?
What's it like to live in a shadow?
Oh yeah. That's the question. What's it like to live in the shadow?
It's a blessing. I love my dad with all my heart. He's my hero for sure. He's definitely somebody that I look up to and a role model to me. Growing up as a kid, I don't think he ever yelled at me one time. And we lived out in the country, out on Stratford, and he just let us do our thing. He called us free range kids. I would just give him my dirt bike and be gone. And the only way I knew to come home was I'd hear a shotgun blast, boom. And I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, I gotta come home.
Free range kids, do they cost more than cage kids?
I did because I was in the hospital a lot.
He tried to fix a freaking washing machine.
I fixed it. I almost cut the end of my finger off. I can't feel it now.
Yeah, I did that with a table saw.
Yeah, it's not fun.
Years back. It tickles for a long time.
I can't feel anything, dude.
Interesting though how life works itself out. Like, he ended up next to me.
Yeah.
And our other neighbor, like guy, Adam, I love you.
Yeah.
Adam, he saw this guy he grew up with, would do stuff with, get hooked on drugs, and
come off of them,
and then now this guy Adam has got his life together, and here we are on a cul-de-sac.
Yeah. The funny thing is Adam used to come out to my dad's house, and we would do all these tricks on my trampoline there.
Yeah.
He wanted to show his mom that he could do a double front flip, right? And she just gotten there. He does it, but he lands on his knees, and then his face goes forward, and he breaks his nose.
Oh wow!
And just blood everywhere.
It's a round trampoline.
Yes. Yeah. Not without the new ones now. They all have those nets.
The net, yeah.
No, you jump off the roof onto that bad boy and hope to God you don't fly.
Oh man! So my dad was like did playground equipment before he got out of that. But anyway, he brought home the rectangle ones they trained gymnasts on. Man, you can go a little higher. We were jumping off the roof onto that thing. And there was always some kid that would be doing some trick and fly off the trampoline and land on the ground. There's been a few injuries.
Yeah, I lived on that thing, man. I lived on it. Slept on
it.
Put a sprinkler under it.
Yeah.
Did
all the fun
stuff.
Did
WWF moves on them.
How's that career working out?
I don't think he has a trampoline.
That was the beginning of the water.
Do you guys have a trampoline over there?
Yeah, we do. My kids love it. It's got that net now, though.
Oh yeah,
gotta be safe.
We had some friends over doing a slumber party, right, with the boys, and one of the kids was jumping up and dropping his pants and mooning the neighbor.
Nice.
Anyway,
sounds like me.
My mom gets home and comes outside, and this kid's up there with his moon in the air, and she's like, "I wouldn't be doing something like that with something that small." Good old mom, teaching a valuable lesson, I guess.
So Sam watched yesterday's show, and he had a lot to say about it.
It was fascinating.
Yeah, he said Mike is a genius, and
He
I'm
is.
hoping to get him on the show.
Yeah, maybe you take a look at it and test some water or something. And
I
see
would
if
like to see it in person,
Yeah.
but it sounded to me, it's like any type of filtration process. There's always going to be a byproduct, right?
Yeah. Oh,
But
yeah.
whether it's not going through, if it's just using he's using magnets and he's doing he's using hydrology or some sort of
Yeah.
hydrogen. He's using hydrogen, right?
He's making hydrogen and oxygen, but I guess he's able to separate them equally.
Sure.
Other systems, right? H2O, like
Yeah,
our
2 parts hydrogen,
yeah.
1
So
part
you get
oxygen.
weird charges. I
Sure.
think the system creates the magnetic field
Okay.
and pulls the metal down. Anyway, it has this little sorting thing. But yeah, it's definitely worth having another set of eyes look at it and say, hey,
Yeah.
the results are what you say they are.
I mean,
Kinda
if
cool.
if it works the way he says it does, I would be pitching that thing everywhere. You can go to communities. There's drinking water is always a a hot topic when you go to
Yeah.
communities. They're like, take for instance in Palouse. They're trying to get an upgrade done for their wastewater treatment plant, and I pitched the idea like, hey, why don't you put it to groundwater recharge or do aquifer recharge with it? um and that's something they really were interested in, but at that point, it costs a lot of money to do that.
Yeah, I think one of the concerns he had about was, I guess, our modern technology, things are running through filters or whatever.
They are.
And so his system is sorting it, right? Metals to the bottom,
Mhm.
clean water in the middle, and biological up top. So it'd have to be probably sorted slightly differently.
Yeah.
Then to make the EPA happy, send the clean water through some filter. And, I mean, he has his process. But anyway, somebody smarter than me could definitely look at it and be like, all right, you're going to do this. And even though it is great water, let's add this step just to make the EPA happy.
Sure.
They're like, it's not filtered, like
Mhm.
it's separating it this way, which is sometimes something new or uncommon. People don't know what to do with.
As long as you can as long as you can test it properly, most of the time they'll run a back T on the sample, which is running E. coli and fecal on that separated side. So if it's separated, you can run those tests. You can find out if there's any lead and copper or iron, manganese,
Yeah.
or calcium carbonate, which is the hardness of the water.
Yeah.
They can test for all of that, and if it's separated and filtered and clean, there's no point in running it through a filter.
My question: do you drink tap water?
No.
No.
Ooh, interesting, ladies and gentlemen.
I don't, because of the calcium carbonate in the water. I don't like the hardness.
Yeah.
Tim.
Yeah. You sure?
Does your dad drink tap water?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I grew up, drinking out of the off the garden hose.
Yeah.
Man, that it is what it
All
is. But
downhill after that.
it is, but after getting into the water side and things and seeing it's not that you can't drink out of the tap. It just tastes better when you have it filtered.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I installed a small RO system underneath my mother.
What does RO mean?
Reverse osmosis.
Oh, okay.
And so it actually and it has alkaline in it, so that way it'll separate out all the impurities of the water, and then it puts purities back in, stuff that is actually supposed to be in your body. Because if you just drink reverse osmosis water straight, you could die. It'll suck the essential minerals out of your body if you drink too much of it.
So okay, so if you're in the mob, listen up. Say that again.
Yeah. Yeah. You want to poison somebody? Give them some RO water.
Yeah. See. Yeah.
All right, let's jump into some questions here that you may not have thought about asking, because I guess I'm known for asking questions, and
Yeah.
might be interesting to one person, ruffle the feathers of the powers that be, but so be it. Water rights.
Yeah.
Who needs water rights? Is water rights an issue? What's your thoughts on that?
See, water rights is probably one of the most hardest things to get now. It doesn't matter if you're just a resident customer trying to get rights so you can possibly put a well in, or the fact that city entities are having a hard time getting water rights. Like Quincy themselves, they're right up against their water rights as it sits right now, and that's why Microsoft had to build that $150 million upgrade, what they call a reuse treatment system. The same thing is going to end up happening in Moses if it hasn't already. They're already telling you get the water every other day, and it has to be between like 7 and 10 o'clock throughout the day. If I honestly, I had a buddy of mine watering his yard, and a city official, some lady came to his door and said, "You can't be watering right now."
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh yeah. Yeah, you
Yeah.
gotta kind of follow the rules at night. They're not driving around, but
Well, and honestly, the best time to water your lawn is at night because,
yeah.
especially during summer months, the water just cooks your grass. It can actually kill it by running it during the day. Doesn't make any sense. But
FYI for our
It's like
listeners,
little magnifying glass on the leaf, and sun gets it. I don't know.
FYI for our listeners, Tom Dent is not on the show, even though I just popped him in on the feed. He's not here today.
so yeah, water rights. It's a huge issue. I mean, look at California, for instance. They have no water at all. They're trying to get, from what I understand, when I was down in Louisiana, because Louisiana has so much damn water, it just rains constantly there. They wanted to build a pipeline that would stretch all the way over to California so they could ship water over to them.
Yeah, they do that with oil sometimes. Run
Sometimes.
countries, all that stuff. So I guess if it's that much of an issue,
Well, I mean,
that's a huge project.
California actually has an aquifer underneath it that's been polluted. They put a pollutant in there, some sort of carcinogenic, and they can't touch it. But there's filtration processes. That this whole thing with that gentleman, his name's Mike.
Maybe
right?
it works for that.
Yeah, tell him to go pitch that shit over there, and I bet it would work.
Well, they actually had somebody try to tell them that because they were trying to touch it, and he came out with a song. His name was MC Hammer.
How's it go?
Yeah, let's hear it, Donnie.
Sing it, Donnie.
I can't read.
Oh,
I traveled from Hammer go.
Rick's from California, so
I am. We have a few dust bowls there now to save some little fish and this and that. I mean, there's always something political and environmental and life substance that we need that are at battle with each other anyway. Water infrastructure. So my point in asking that question, right, loaded question, was cities need water rights as well. That was kind of the highlight, and I'm glad you addressed that. Water infrastructure. We have wells. Are they working, not working? Are there bugs in the water? What's your analysis on what we have right now?
So you guys this whole city runs off of wells, right? And it's just pure injection. So they just inject chlorine into their system. Now, with the approval of these 700 homes, I had heard from some contact somewhere that this builder out in May Valley, they're landlocked out there. And they're not landlocked, but they're out of water rights out there. They don't have any water to give out. And so this contractor actually pitched to the city that they would put a $50 million water treatment facility in there where they could reuse this water. And I don't know if it came to fruition or what, but here, if they want to get past those water right issues, they're going to have to put in an actual water treatment system of some kind. But
to reuse the water that goes into the drain, and is that what you're talking about?
Yeah,
what do you mean by
wastewater?
If you're taught, you can use wastewater to replenish an aquifer. That's what they do in Quincy. It's called Class A reclaim. And what they do is, your wastewater comes in through collection systems. You have distribution and you have collection system. Distribution means you're distributing drinking water out to your customers. Yeah. Collections means that you're collecting the water from your customers to put it through your wastewater treatment plant.
Yeah.
In Quincy, it runs through an SBR wastewater treatment plant, which is SBR is an acronym
short barrel rifle.
It's Donnie can tell you about that. Donnie's home protection.
That's true.
The acronym for SBR is sequencing batch reactors, and it's all just activated sludge. It's a system that goes through batches, so it'll go through. It goes through mixed fill, so mixers are on while it's filling up from the influent of the actual system itself. from there, it goes to react fill, where it'll have air on, excuse me, with the mixtures off, and then it just the flow will stop, and it'll go over to this other SBR, and then from there the air will shut off, and it just goes into a settling process, and again, that's where you get
SBR again. What's the
sequencing batch reactor?
Sequencing batch reactor.
Sequencing batch reactor.
Okay.
Say it again, Donnie.
Short barrel rifle.
Yeah.
But for there, then it goes into a
sequential bad actors.
There you go.
I mean, Rick, did you think that in this week, like we had the Tom Dent on, we talked about water, Mike yesterday, like there's so much that we don't know, and in your journey,
Yeah.
like what would you say when you first got in, showing up as a Mormon, to now? Is there still more to learn?
Oh yeah, I learned something new every single day. Some of it does get a little repetitive. Luckily for me, let me finish off what I was saying first, and then like I said, it goes through a batch reactor, goes into a setting process, and then it goes through sand filtration, which uses coagulation, and then from there you monitor turbidity. It goes through UV disinfection. It goes out to these reed beds, or these beds that just slowly trickle down, and it actually replenishes Quincy's aquifer. So they're reusing their water constantly.
Like how long to replenish? It's a different aquifer than the main one we're using.
Yeah.
Okay. I was like, how long? That's like how deep? Anyway.
But like I'm saying, that usually they run total coliforms there, which is just a total of different types of coliforms. It's not fecal coliform; it's a total of a bunch of them.
Yeah.
But it has to be below 100 milligrams per liter, and usually most of the time it's anywhere between 1 and 5.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I learned stuff new every day, and luckily for me, coming up from in Quincy, it's not like a traditional wastewater treatment plant. Large ones, you're an operator. That's what you do. You're a maintenance guy. You do maintenance. You're a sample collector. You do samples. You're a lab guy. You're a lab guy. In Quincy, I called myself a jack of all trades because I got to learn all of it. So it worked out really well for me.
Especially now.
Yeah. I mean, I'm pretty good at fixing things. So when it comes to our business,
except for dryers,
I fixed that dryer. It just bit back is the problem. But so with this company that we have now, Jay Favor, my partner, he's been in the business for 30 years, and he's a genius when it comes to running wastewater treatment plants and knowing the treatment side of things, much better than me. But he can't. You show him a crescent wrench, and he wouldn't even know what the hell it was. He's just not a maintenance guy. So it falls more on my shoulders on that aspect. But now that we have more contracts, we have employees that are working full time. I don't have to do it as much, but I do have to train them on specifically how to fix certain things in facilities when it comes to maintenance. But treatment side, we kind of refer to Jay more when it comes to the treatment questions. I can still run a plant pretty well, but Jay can run it.
Fixing things is important. Which, on that note, what would you say has the coolest and best tool collection you've ever known?
That's a Milwaukee plug out.
That would be me, his name.
You're a poster child for Milwaukee.
I know.
If they wanted to do an ad, they could just drive by your garage. You just have the door open and wave.
Yeah. It's true.
His thing, your trade colors are red and black. And...
It is awesome, though. I mean,
we had a little party, and he said, "Hey, do you mind if I show your friend your collection?"
Donnie has like every Milwaukee radio that has ever been.
I literally do. Actually,
it's like, oh, they have a new one. They have a new one. Anyway, out of control. Lake water use. I know the properties on the lake will pump water to water their yards. What's the possibility of extending some of that to other properties so they can separate, water that doesn't have to be treated, charge them less than using clean drinkable water to water your yard?
Yeah, to me, I think it's great. As long as the Department of Ecology will allow it, that's the only thing, But the problem with Moses Lake, especially in the last 5-10 years, is we get that blue algae in there.
Yes,
very poisonous to animals. It'll kill your dog if they get it, if they consume it.
Rick's dog or mine?
whatever dog.
Oh wow. Okay.
Maybe you, dog.
So you be watering your lawn. You're saying that blue algae gets on the lawn, the dog's rolling around and it could get it sick,
Yeah.
could
Well,
cause.
you know how dogs get, like, especially if you have a retriever, they chase those sprinklers around if they're outside. So you'd have to water it
Oh, man.
without the animals out back. And even if it is, and there's a puddle on the ground of it, they lick it up. It'll kill them.
Yeah. So let's vote now. No retrievers in Moses Lake. Then we can water.
That's not what he was getting at.
We can water our yards and not worry about animal abuse. All in favor?
Nay.
Nay.
I have a retriever.
He
Yeah.
does. He does. And she.
Your vote doesn't count. Not biased.
He brought the dog home, and I was like, I don't pet dogs. I don't. And that is a cute dog.
Yeah, he's a good boy.
So
in all actuality, it could work. I don't see why it can. And people do use some people use that lake water to water.
it
their
has
yards.
fertilizers and all
Well,
sorts of stuff in it. What the grass grows great.
Well,
using it.
wasn't Tom talking about using the Columbia River yesterday?
Yeah, he mentioned using that for some things.
That would be a better route, but honestly, it's all coming from Crab Creek. The problem is it just sits in there, bakes over the summer, and
Yeah,
algae grows in there. And
well, they could open it up more if we were using more of it, and would that naturally clean our lake somewhat?
I would think so.
Oh, listen to that. There's an idea.
They also have that dredge that I never see running out there too.
Yeah, the EPA actually kicked them out. I think it was 2003. It was out there every day for a long time.
I know. I mean, the EPA. That's the thing, the EPA wants their waters clean, but you better not be in there cleaning it.
All right. So my other question is I have people, friends, whatever we talk to, and
people friends.
Many of them are complaining about the water pricing. I got an acre, I got half an acre. When I start watering, Moses Lake has a tier system, and we'll get into that a little bit more. But 3/4 acre, like it pushes me up past, and I live in this area and it's sandy, and I got to water more just to keep it alive, and so my water price is like crazy. $600 a month, just to keep it, whatever. And there's an idea out there. You're like, oh, the water table's only 10 feet deep. I can take a PVC pipe, go down like 20, put a little pump in there, and I could water my yard with groundwater, not the big reservoir, just groundwater, and not hurting anything. There won't be blue-green algae, whatever, to supplement, doing so. What are your thoughts for some of my friends out there that are thinking about putting in a little mini well just to water their grass?
I would say do it at night when no one's looking.
What's the proper way to do it?
As far as drilling, I'm not an expert when it comes to drilling wells. I've seen it done.
Have you seen the PVC ones? They just put a hose up top and they just twist it. It just goes down, down till they hit, glue on a new piece, down. And
as long as, honestly, it sounds great. I don't know as far as like how permitting goes. It is your property, right? But it's not
your water.
It's
water rights.
It's God's water, right? It would be, like I said, you'd probably have to do it when no one's looking, because they're going to want to know how much of that water is being used. If they can't meter it, then they're gonna come in and do it. So that's what I'm saying.
I just want to do a shout out to the EPA. When you see that little mud puddle out by the gas station off the 90 go down, then you know they're doing it. They're like, that's how you know.
So the EPA is the Fed. So really, it'd be more like the Department of Health or the Washington State Department of Ecology or a city official, because the city's going to be the one coming by checking it, and then they're going to be the ones to update the Department of Health.
A lot of people
wouldn't know. Nobody would know unless.
I'm saying.
A lot of people don't know this, but the EPA is not a government entity; it's a private organization.
Yeah, and they make the rules. They're the Department of Ecology and Department of Health are basically the middleman. They're the ones that ensure these communities and cities are following the rules, but
kind of like the mob of the water.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The water mob.
That's right.
um, what is your target market? You kind of mentioned this before,
Yeah.
localities and so
So
forth.
it's usually smaller communities right now because competitively when with these larger firms, firms like Veolia and Jacobs is the largest contracting firm in North America.
Yeah.
They do engineering and they also do operations. So in order to be competitive in our own field, we have to start small, right? So mostly small communities. We secured a larger contract with Grand Coulee and also with the Port of Walla Walla out of Burbank.
Okay.
But we have a lead with a company, like I was saying, that'll put us up. They have about 22 sites, and I think it's two or three different states, but most of them are centralized here in Washington. Um, we actually are getting ready to send out a proposal for this today.
Wow.
But these will be trailer parks, like mobile home parks and things of that nature. But the good part is that some of them are water and they have their own wastewater system. It's just a lagoon, so there's a ton of different wastewater treatment plants out there. The most common one is usually a lagoon system. It's just an open pit that has a liner on it, and it either it's either dries out through UV or
The world is so much bigger than we thought as a kid. I mean, from the world that you're in with water, like, did you have any idea that there's so much to it?
No, and the funny thing is my dad and I and my sister used to go to Banks Lake a lot. We rented a dock there in Coulee City, and when you're coming through, what's that back road called? That road that you go through.
I'm not sure the name of the road, but I have a lot of Milwaukee.
The back road.
Yeah, no, it's going to come to me after I get off this podcast. It's going to drive me nuts. But anyway, you drive right past their wastewater treatment plant. There's 3 lagoons. It's a tier system set up with 3 lagoons, and it's an evaporation pond process for lagoons. And at that point, I didn't know what that was. I just thought, I was like, oh, look at all that water over there.
Yeah.
And now I look back and I'm like, holy shit, I run systems like that.
Yeah. Speaking of tier systems, in Moses Lake, we have a tier system for how we pay. And
oh, I was thinking crying.
I Googled it and they had a chart, and it's like Moses Lake is like the 4th, 5th, down from the cheapest. Quincy's like number 1, where you start at cheapest water, and wastewater costs in the area.
That's what data centers will do for you.
I think it was that way before, but anyway, cheapest water, and then we're like ranked 5th, and then it goes down. There's another like
5th in the state or 5th
in the area, like Walla Walla.
Walla Walla's expensive.
So good they named it twice.
So good.
I'm not going to pull it up, but anyway, I was looking at the numbers, and I was like, all those numbers are based, at least for Moses Lake, on our tier 1 system. Every city does it differently, and they regulate it and value the numbers differently. So it's really hard to compare apples to apples, because like one is doing 1,000 gallons, one's doing 100 cubic feet, however they call it, and that's which is 750 gallons. And I was like trying to make sense of it all, and then I was like, well, 5 months out of the year, when I water my lawn for 40 minutes, 20 minutes each station, I jumped to tier 2. And I was like, I go from 46 cents, whatever, to $1.40. And then some people go over that into, I don't know what it is, 278 if you really are a water sucker. And I was like, at tier 2 for 5 months out of the year, we become like almost the most expensive in the area. And I was like, Anyway, it was just interesting. I don't know how you average that out. Now, it was, I think, going to from 1,000 to 2,000, 3,000 gallons. And I think the city council, Victor Lombardi, I think, kind of pushed to raise it to 5,000 before you go to tier 3, which gives a lot of people a little more relief. The tier system is kind of a California thing to punish those that use more in that process. So
you're accurate when you say it is a tier system, because I recently bought a 15-foot pool, and yeah, there were tears when I saw that water. But
Yeah,
You know,
could have used those to fill the pool.
to me, it would make sense to raise that to 5,000 because of the cost of living and how
Yeah,
expensive things are getting now. I mean,
so it helps, but other places are kind of flat rate, and then
yeah,
or you pay, but they're not $1.40, or 2.78.
you know, like,
Quincy's like 46. Moses around 50 cents a
well,
gallon.
the thing to me is they've got that canal that runs through Moses Lake. There's a canal that runs all the way through it for their U.S. Bureau.
Yeah.
Um, and when I lived in Wenatchee, they had the same thing, but there was an actual canal that ran through all these neighborhoods, and everybody paid one flat rate for the entire year. And that was what you used. And you could water all day, all night. You could leave that water running as much as you possibly wanted
They
to. The
probably
only
have
problem
fewer
is,
wildfires there too.
the problem there though is it's coming from a canal, so you have to have a filtration system on there. You got to clean it like weekly. But other than that, I mean, you've got water there. Why not use it? Why do the
Yeah.
farmers only get it when
Yeah, so
you
I've
can use
I've
it for your
lived
yard?
in a place where that if you had a water right and it was your day, you could put your little board down. The little river thing would fill up, overflow, and then would like water your grass. And then they'd undo it, and the next guy would go. And anyway, they just used the little canal
Hmm.
system to water. Um, let's talk about your dad,
Okay. How come you
Tim.
guys get these nice mic stands and I feel like I'm crouching?
You can move it.
I'm crouching also.
It's like I don't want to break the damn thing.
You won't.
He said, "Damn," talking about water.
So let's talk about your dad in Quincy and a few of the, I guess, projects. From what I understand, he was a big reason why Quincy got data centers. And um, how did they go from zero to flush?
Sure.
Please share that story with us.
Yeah. So my dad was a county commissioner and for Grant County, and when he lost his second run, he moved us to Quincy and became the city administrator. And he loves telling this story, but he went to his first council meeting and just wanted to sit back and kind of take things in to see what it was going to be like in these things as the city administrator. And they're bickering and bickering about this net that they can't afford. There's no way we can buy this thing. We just don't have it in the budget. We can't do this. We can't do this. And finally, my dad had to step in. He's like, okay, what net are we talking about here? And they're like, well, there's a net for the basketball hoop at the park that we can't afford. And we don't know what the hell we're going to do. And he's like, Jesus, we're in a lot of trouble. We can't even buy a basketball net.
Yeah.
So, he went to a few conventions and met some connections and pitched the idea to have these data centers, Microsoft specifically, come to Quincy because they have cheap power and there's a lot of land in the area. They did their research and they're like, yeah, this actually could be something. And so they came in, and the rest is pretty much history. Quincy now is just, they're so flush with cash. Their rainy day spending fund. I know the mayor there. His name's Paul Worley, and their rainy day spending fund had I think it was like $10 million sitting in it. But I mean, they've got a brand new police department. They got a brand new city hall. They just built another
Brand new high school.
with the turf, the same turf that's at the Seahawks field.
Yeah.
Same exact turf. It
looks like a prison
town.
though. I just gotta say.
All the streets are brand new. It's beautiful, and it's something that to me, it was pretty cool to see because I lived there and I moved there when I was 16, and I just saw this town just flourish. I mean, it was an industrial town. There's still industries there now. They're trying to go through a process where they use their um, they use the effluent from the industrial wastewater treatment plant. They have two wastewater plants there in Quincy. One of them's municipality, and that comes strictly from human waste. And an industrial wastewater treatment plant, which is strictly vegetables. It's just all vegetable waste. Yeah, yeah. And it's the same exact process at both places. But the U.S. Bureau of Reclamation, they want them to get they discharge to this site called DW 237. It goes into a canal. And the U.S. Bureau wants them out. They're like, you got to get out of there. We're going to concrete this line. So their plan is to do Class A reclaim with that water as well. But they want to try to replenish the aquifer with it. But
very cool.
Yeah, it's cool. But my dad came in and did all that. And I mean, geez, he was there, I think, almost 15 years before he actually retired. He lives in Grand Coulee now, just
Nice.
putters around. He volunteers to mow the lawn at the golf course.
Life is rough.
Yeah. He works with his hands a lot too.
Yeah.
He's a woodsmith, so everything in my house is pretty much made by him. I have a dining room table. I have a hall tree, entertainment center. Both of my daughters' dressers are made by my dad. We built a bookshelf for my wife in our old home. We're gonna do it again
Nice.
when we move. We're moving back to my mother-in-law's place. She moved to Walla Walla, so we're moving into her house. I won't be Donnie's neighbor anymore. I know he's gonna cry about it.
Man. So Quincy called me like 3 weeks ago, and they're like, Rick, you're doing comedy shows, you're doing dancing, having all this fun. Would you consider moving to Quincy? And it was a tough decision for me. I was like, man, that's awesome that they're asking me to go out there when my town's giving me a hard time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right.
But anyway, I was like, man, data centers. I don't know anything about data centers. I just have I'm curious about them. But when I worked at one, I was there when I was at MWH01.
Yep.
I've worked at Columbia as well, but the water main broke on a 10-inch line, and it was like 1 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
It was crazy. Alarms started going off. Like there's all these automations.
Yep.
We're watching stuff, and we're wandering around the site looking for like what's going on.
Sure.
The coolers, the water in the coolers are all drying up.
Yep.
Anyway, we had to shut down one of the warehouses, a whole data center,
Mm-hmm.
and Microsoft was not happy. Anyway, they were doing construction for O2,
Yep.
the second phase, and they had moved snow and piled it up over all the valves so they could reroute or
Right.
shut it off. So like we couldn't even find it. I mean, it was wild. So anyway, finally,
perfect storm.
So finally, there's this crater. We finally find it. It's like 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning. We finally find this crater. Asphalt had fallen down.
Mm-hmm.
This thing's spraying, and it's running off to some ravine.
Right.
And the guys on call, they had all been having fun that night, and they show up fairly intoxicated. And I was holding this guy's hoodie or jacket, had a hood on it. He's standing on the edge of the asphalt. The asphalt's wearing away underneath because it's like sand. It's like hanging over 2 feet. He's standing there. I'm holding his jacket going, I'm babysitting this guy. And he's looking and stumbling around. And I'm like, he should not be here. But he's probably on call, and nothing ever happens till today.
Yep. It's always in the middle of the night.
In the middle of the night. It was crazy. But anyway, my friend that managed the place, he had so much leave, they made him take vacation. So he wasn't even there for this event. But
was it Rob Moyer?
No, Brett Muhlstein.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, they were like, we feel you didn't do enough while you were on vacation. But they needed a head to roll.
Yeah. Yes.
Anyway, so they ended up moving him. Now he runs Bothell, the data center out there.
Yeah.
But it was just crazy. Like, but they want a head to roll when a big mistake happens. Like,
someone's got to be blamed.
Somebody is going to pay for it, and they'll run through different leadership. It's like, how long can I hold this together till a mistake is made? I mean, it's
a lot of money to them, though.
Yes, there is a lot of money.
I was
transacting behind the scenes that we don't even know about.
I was in a lot of meetings when it came to ground zero of building the, $150 million reuse system, and I was sitting in a meeting with Bob Weir, who now, well, I don't know if he's still there, but he was managing the construction team. He was an engineer. I said, Rob, how much money? How much money would you lose if you had to shut your system down And he said the time it told you to say that, we lost $1 million.
Yeah.
I was like, good gosh.
billions a minute.
So I had to slip out to let our next guest in. During that time, were you guys talking about my Milwaukee lawnmower or no?
No.
Yeah.
Okay, just thought I'd ask.
Disrupted my train of thought. Shame on you. So I've kind of been a proponent of asking questions like, how come we don't have a data center in Moses Lake? Would it be worth bringing in a trunk? What's the proper term for a trunk?
Trunking
in fiber. It's 40 miles, probably $20 million to do a project like that. We have water, we have power here. If we build it, would they come? If we don't do something like that in the next 5 to 10 years, would that be a huge mistake for our community? And my thought process on it goes all the way back to artificial intelligence. The demand and servers needed for that, I believe, is tremendous. What are your thoughts on that?
I think if a community passes on an opportunity to work with data centers, it's just dumb. I'm serious. I mean, you gotta take for example Quincy, just the way that they were able to flourish after these data centers came in, and once they got that reuse system put in with the purple pipe, they call it reuse line.
Yeah,
the floodgates open. There's more data centers there now than when I left 3 years ago.
Oh, yeah, and they're still
they're growing and growing.
Yeah. So if Moses Lake gets that opportunity, which they should just approach them, in my opinion, and spend that money if they've got it, or if they need to find some sort of funding or grant funding to get that material over here so they can do it, then I don't see why they wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
It brings in a lot of money, a lot of tax breaks, and then on top of that, it supplies the town with a ton of more jobs. So it would make more sense.
better water
in the building phase, but once they're kind of established, there's some maintenance and things. It's not like millions of people running it. It does have people there, but think of an investment where it's making money without labor that feeds into the community.
I know that
it could have paid for the hospital. It could have paid for these things that we need.
Pay for new schools, pay for better roads, pay for, new grocery stores. I mean, if you live on this side of East Broadway, you got one place to shop, but they could even build a bridge that would
pay for the bridge.
Yeah, that would connect, Moses Lake with May Valley, because there's only one way there and one way out.
Same with Cascade Valley. Yeah,
it's exactly. But
do you want a bridge? Vote yes.
Vote yes.
The trunk bond.
And
the trunk bond.
New junk bond. Bring in the junk bond to Moses Lake so we can have data centers. Anyway, let's wrap this show up. Sam Snead, thank you for joining us and educating us about water issues.
I'm glad you guys got to sit here with me.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're lucky.
Yeah, you are.
We're graced by your presence.
Yeah.
And we got to jump on to our next show here. So thank you for coming. This is the Rick Sikin Show. I am Rick Beer, your host. Hopefully you had a good laugh or two. Signing out.